everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started with our Commissioner Status Update meeting. Today's date is March 18th, 2025. The time is 10 a.m. In attendance are Commissioners Eberline, Duncan, and Matari. I'm calling this meeting to order. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Public comment. Hearing none. We'll move on to our first item, Justice Building Update. Discussion with David Mendez.
Good morning, David Mendez with Turner, Townsend, and Heary. On the building, I don't have an updated spreadsheet for you on the contingencies. Nothing's really changed on that, so I've got nothing really to report to you. The project is still on schedule. We've had a minor issue come up regarding doors. The laminate doors that we were that were designed into the project and moving forward with. I know we had a discussion earlier in the year about going to wood. We pursued that from a maintenance standpoint. That's easier to repair and to stain, and if damage has occurred, we looked into that. It was going to be more money. As it turns out, they're having delivery schedule issues, and they're going back to wood like we wanted in the first place at no additional cost. So that's the good news and the good news, I guess. On FF&E, the furniture, we've been assured that we will have a price quote by Wednesday, so we can get on your agenda for next week. That'll give you the opportunity to review that and have comments and questions next Tuesday. So that's on track. Another item, and I think I mentioned this to you before, in talking with courts and bailiffs, we did not have any seating on the exterior hallways around the courtrooms. We pursued with the contractor having them make pews that are the same as the courtroom pews and placing them in a fixed situation on the exterior of the court areas in the hallways for jury selections. When you have a lot of people in there, they need places to stay in between court cases for people to sit on the outside of the courtroom. We got a quote, and I don't recall whether it's 8 or 12 pews, varying sizes that will fit into the wall space that we have. Was about $30,000. It's a little more than I was expecting, but then when you go to the unit price, it's not too bad. We are talking with our furniture people to see if they can provide something similar that will satisfy that same type of a requirement. The problem with that what we're trying to avoid is the situation where we have something that's movable on the outside. It needs to be a fixed furnishing, something that if someone gets angry, they're not able to throw it, pick it up and throw it. We don't want it moved around. We don't want things drug around on our floor. So that's what we're trying to come up with. I'll have a solution to you hopefully for next week as well.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do. Was that in the program to start with?
The pews on the exterior, no, it was not. There was an item.
So who dropped the ball on that one?
That's something I wasn't around for the programming discussions about that. It wasn't apparently brought up to the design team. The design team didn't see that either. So, but it is something that was discussed when we we're talking with judges, we're talking with attorneys about that, and with bailiffs. Bailiffs, I think, were the ones that brought that up.
I can respond to that as well. Jeff Wohler for the record. The architects said they assumed that was going to be part of the FF&E furnishings, but there was nothing rendered on the drawings for that to even kind of cue us in that that's something that we should have been considering in FF&E. So it's probably something that we ultimately would, figure out out of the FF&E budget or how we need to cover that.
Too bad.
Better to catch it now when we have the opportunities to either build it with the same folks that are building the rest of the courtrooms, so it'll look consistent rather than trying to find furniture on the market to match it. So the good news and the bad news, I guess.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, David. All right, next up, University of Idaho Extension Office update and the FY26 budget request. And we have, Rusty, you're going to have to forgive me, last name, Gaz, and Shelley Johnson. Yes.
So yeah, thank you for having us, and great to see Commissioner Duncan and Matari again, and congratulations to you, Commissioner Eberline. It's our first opportunity to be before you, and we look forward to getting to know you and growing in our work together. So we've had a great year, and just I think we're guided to give a little bit of an overview just for really 108 years this relationship has been in existence between Kootenai County, University of Idaho, in the cooperative extension program and mandate and mission set forth by Abraham Lincoln to take the state's university to the people. And so that's really our mission and mandate as we reach out to Kootenai County. Our Kootenai County extension programming, while it meets a lot of different needs, there's probably 4 categories that we really focus in on with the faculty and staff that we have in the Kootenai County area, and that's really water and natural resources, forestry, family and consumer sciences, with a particular emphasis on youth and eating programs, nutrition programs, as well as then master gardener, floriculture, horticulture. So those are some really key programs that I think and then obviously probably the big giant that people just assume is extension is 4-H. So we are that, but much more. So we have done a great job, I think, of kind of managing those resources and working together. I know that the key today is really going over the budget and then the proposed budget. Shelley, who is the county chair, does a fantastic job of really managing that budget for the county and really making things as efficient as possible. It's been, I think, 4 years since we've requested any increase to the budget, and we're probably nearing a position where with largely taking care of those county staff, we would like to propose an increase, and we know we can't probably make up the years of lack of increase in one fell swoop, so we'd like to approach this in some stages and ask for a partial increase in the budget, talk about that, and then if that's all acceptable and going well, look at that in continual years to try to get really our staff up to where they probably need to be at a minimum market rate, which we're under right now. And the only other update I would add, and then I'll kick it off to Shelley, in that 4-H program area, we really have 2 full-time staff. One is a senior instructor, faculty level, completely paid for and funded from the University of Idaho, and then a program coordinator, which was vacated late fall by Madison Soten. She was doing a fantastic job really focusing on the traditional 4-H programming. And we just announced that position posting last Friday, so we're excited about filling that position. But that is in the budget with an increase also to try to have that as an acceptable starting kind of hourly pay. I'll let Shelley kind of detail the budget as it is. But
yeah. As you guys know, we had our big office move in August that went really well. The 1250 Ironwood building has been fantastic. Parkwood's been amazing to deal with. It took us a little bit of while to just kind of get settled. The biggest thing was our internet provider. U of I stepped up to fund all of that. So we are got great Wi-Fi, fully connected. It's kind of fun to be in there, and the office accommodations are great. Program-wise, between the 4 programs that are out of our office, we've had a really strong year program-wise. As you guys know, the state pays for us as faculty, and then we are active in looking for grants and things like that. My program within Family and Consumer Sciences has always been funded off of grants. I've got staff and contractors doing nutrition work in our area, provided we tend to seek lower income families in that regard and do a tremendous amount of work with that. Chris Schneff is in our office with forestry. I know you guys are familiar with him. Really strong educator, probably going to be retiring here soon, sadly, but he's been a tremendous asset to the county for years. Teresa Balderrama is our lead for our 4-H program. She does a lot of STEM work and has been working with a huge base of youth in that arena, and having Madison Soton's position open up with more of our traditionally 4-H program. We've had our Tammy Getz step in, and she is our area 4-H person, so she's been helping out Kootenai County in that regard, just with all of our traditional 4-H programming. And then Cara Carlton, who's funded off of the Kootenai County budget, she works part-time within the Master Gardener program. I know over the years you've asked us to make sure that our budget is tight. So I took a strong look at all of the B items over the years and have really streamlined that. I've pushed any extra that I saw in that to help cover some of our salary increases, more so when we hired Jennifer Kay, our admin coordinator. She is excellent and keeps us all on our toes in her office. And when we were able to snag her a few years ago, the university came back with a higher rate than we had been paying that position. And so I was able to funnel a lot of the things in the B category up into that salary category to snag her. And so in looking at our programs, there are, most of my things that I do in family consumer sciences are grant funded. Anything that is a paid for program, some of Chris's programs in forestry and our Master Gardener program as well. I've asked everybody to make sure that we can embed a lot of things into those program costs. And so they've been able to do that. So what we typically do is when we have that, that cost for the participant to take a program, we then funnel that into an index on campus, so we can use that budget for other types of things, to pay for photocopies or, you know, room space or anything like that. And so I wanted to make sure I honored that ask for you guys. So that B category is very, very tight. We're only asking for a little bit less than a 6% increase in our budget, and the increase is seen in a little bit of salary wages. Probably that's the biggest component of it. We did have a drop in our fringe rate for University of Idaho. It used to be like right around 40%, 40.1%, and it dropped to 36.7%, which gave us a little bit of cost savings that I funneled into salaries and wages to look at least trying to get some of our staff up to that market rate that we want them to be at. I think we're at about 89% of what they should be getting paid. University of Idaho went through a huge market analysis, a few years ago, and it is really working towards making sure that budgets are set so we can get folks up to 100%. But we currently aren't quite there, but we're getting close. And then a few salary budget items that we are asking for an increase for is we got a new photocopier in the office, one that just is much more efficient. So that's part of that cost. And then we do have a storage unit that we pay for too, where our old office space, we had ample storage, and in moving into the new space, we just have a lot of things. And so we've got that embedded into that cost as well. And then a little bump up in some of the mileage, just because the mileage rate has gone up so tremendously. So overall, it's just a 5.6% increase in the budget from last year is what we're requesting.
And just an overall statement, I think it was 2 years ago, I think Commissioner Matari, you had asked for, if we could, a single page, just return on investment look, just a flyover look. And that's pages and pages of detail, but that resonated well with us. And we want to not only have a great relationship with you all, but we want you to be proud of us and feel like you're getting an investment return to the Kootenai County population based on what is invested from from the county dollars. And so in a quick look at that, if you look at the return on investment for every dollar that the county has put into this budget, the return back to Kootenai County, and again, impacts are much better in people and changed lives. But when you look at just a dollar value with what University of Idaho or grant dollars or that scholarly effort returns, is about a 4.5 return on investment, which we're pretty proud of. And those return on investments, vary depending on grant year. But for every dollar that this budget puts into the extension program and that cooperative effort, there's $4.5 that have come back to this community directly. So we're pretty proud of that still.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No. The only comment is that, it's really for the benefit of the community to see the investment. It's their money.
Right.
It's not our money.
Well, yes.
And
Yeah,
so, I appreciate that, kind of resonating with you. Your program has been going on for decades and decades and decades.
108 years, that's right.
Yeah. So, it's something that clearly provides a benefit. And I think as we become more urban, being able to understand that our food doesn't come necessarily from the grocery store, but from places before that, I think is important, especially for young people. So,
Something.
do you want to say something?
Yes, so I just want to make it clear for the record that, yeah, you're asking for a 5.6 budget increase, but that's $8,700. So I didn't want people to think that was, $600,000
Oh, yes,
or something.
yeah, good point.
But,
Yes.
so, no, I appreciate all the hard work, and obviously, we can't give you an answer today, but we will put it into the budget deliberations going forward.
Thank you.
I did have a question. Our office has often talked about not only having you guys out to the new space or also giving you updates and things. And I'm curious as to what would fit best for you guys. Would you like us to come and do a PowerPoint presentation on all of our programs? We've talked about maybe even putting a quarterly newsletter together for you guys. One of the things that we often do is write impact statements that kind of look at the situation, our response as a university, and then some of our impact. And as faculty, we're required to do these, usually just one of them per year. Last year I wrote 5 of them that are very specific to Kootenai County of impacts that my programming made in this area. And I thought even if quarterly you got a little snapshot on Family Consumer Sciences, 4 or 5 sentences with links to these, I don't know if that would be a benefit for you guys just to stay updated on our programming. I don't know, what would you guys like to see?
Any thoughts on that? I can tell you just from my perspective, when I toured your old office,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that because you get to speak with individuals in charge of the programs. You get to listen to them. The Master Gardener program was kind of fun to walk through there and just see what they do and how they're helping folks in the community with their gardens, which is big around here, certainly bigger than a lot of other communities.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you, by the way. That was a stressful move into trying to find a location within Coeur d'Alene that was affordable within our budget. And so we bounced several locations through you, and you helped guide that process for us. So that support was felt.
So I would recommend going out. Actually, I want to go check out your new digs anyhow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we'd like to have an open house.
Yeah.
It took us about 3 months to get internet to
Yeah.
the facility, so that delayed a lot of our open house desire. But
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
so
wait for there's a full day of sunshine, and then we'll do it.
would the board want a presentation or just?
No, I'm fine with just visiting the location. If you have an open house, let us know, and
Okay.
we can put that. Otherwise, I can just schedule it separate.
Does that work for you, Commissioner Eberlein? There you go. All right. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, item 3, Lakes Highway District update on Bayview Dock, and I'm listed here. Last week, we had a town hall, or I spoke at a chamber event, and I really want to thank the folks for putting that together. I thought it was fantastic. It's a great opportunity to get in front of people, answer their questions. I do believe that, as a board, in hindsight, we probably could have been a little more proactive on getting the word out and meeting with folks. But it was a great meeting. Director Snyder was there, and he helped fill in many of the smaller little gaps of how things work. It was great to have him there. He could really answer a lot of good questions. And Commissioner Rod Tweet from the Lakes Highway District was there. And I thought that that was really great that he showed up, because it reminded me that sometimes all you have to do is just pick up the phone and talk with folks. It's all you got to do. And in fairness, when we started to have these issues come up, the communication was between council. And generally, when council is communicating, you don't want to go around that because you've established this channel. And in this particular situation, we did go around it. And I think it really worked for the better. I know that this board, we've kind of touched on the subject, that there is an appetite to entertain continuing to look at maintaining these docks, but not under the previous lease agreement, maybe something that was going back many, many years before, where it was more just $1, some sort of official handshake or something. And that's in essence what was kind of discussed last week. And so we did receive some agreements, some documents yesterday after work, about 6:45 p.m. I know there's not been enough time to look at that, and this is something that the board can look at, and then we can have another meeting to discuss, perhaps next week. But that's kind of what happened, and I'm open to any questions.
Okay. So just a couple of things. So I just want to make sure that we're moving forward with the dock. So I haven't seen any communication from Lakes Highway District that they're approving the dock permit, so we can move on with that.
And the main reason for that is, and again, this is where one of those telephone calls or just simple communication, they were basically looking for a release of liability. That was already incorporated in the previous leases. And so in order to give the permit, they wanted to have some sort of release of liability. I didn't personally see that as much of an issue. That was, I think, a separate document that was distributed last night. Mm-hmm. And so once we can kind of get that behind us, I don't think there'll be any issue issuing the permit. And the dock, I believe, is about 80 or 90% complete. We're just waiting on some decking. And once that is done, we're ready to go. So, and Director Snyder, if you have anything more you'd like to add, you're welcome to. You were there.
Thanks, Commissioners. Nick Snyder for the record. I think you've covered it well, Commissioner. As to the dock, I just want everybody to know that when Lakes Highway District, or should they grant us authorization for the installation, that's a 30-day process for the Idaho Department of Lands to process that permit. So we certainly, sooner is the better. I will work with IDL to see if they can offer us a variance to that 30 days, since it has historically been there a very long time. They've been very good at working with the county in the past, since we're the largest marine provider in the county. They sort of know that we have things well arranged, so hopefully it'll cut that time, Commissioner. But again, our hands are tied until we receive that authorization.
I do have a couple questions, though. How long do you think it will be until the dock that we're building right now will be complete?
Well, our part, for the most part, Commissioner, is done, to your point, earlier comment about the decking. So the docks, all the parts and pieces are there. We need that decking to show up. The supplier has told us the last week in March, first week in April. Our staff can turn that around in less than a week and be ready to go. But we are then at the mercy of the pile driving contractor in Bayview, who is aware that this is coming. So they've promised us they'll get to it as quick as we can, but it's a fairly significant undertaking to slide a barge and a tug in there. In addition to that, we need water levels closer to summer pool to be able to line those docks and drive those pilings. So in a perfect world before Memorial Day, Commissioner, if things move quickly.
Yeah. And then the only other question I have is, and we can figure this out offline, is Does this release of liability have to occur in a sequence, or can the permit be conditioned on the liability and/or a replacement lease? So that way we can start to, tighten up the timeframes, because the board can't operate at too fast of a speed. So I think our next discussion would be next week. So maybe we can find that out too, and just see if a permit, can be issued conditionally with this second component being included, within some reasonable time frame, so that you can keep proceeding with getting that dock installed sooner.
So I would think that if we send the release of liability to legal today, we can have it approved at 2 o'clock next Tuesday. And then the Lakes Highway District can then put permission to the permit, the dock permit. And then we have time to decide. And I mean, I'd kind of like a workshop. I'd love to have their board here and find out, what they're thinking. But I'm not interested in going back to just a straight $1 lease. There's, I think, a lot of costs involved, and I'd like to see those outlined to see what we're really taking on before we sign up for an in perpetuity lease going forward.
I was thinking at the very least, and Commissioner Eberline, your thoughts too, is that, and this was our discussion last week, was at the very least just doing this for 1 year, just so that way the community isn't kind of in a holding pattern, and that the docks can be properly serviced, at least this boating season coming up. That buys us time to discuss some of the more points that come to your mind and may come to the rest of our minds as far as what we want to do longer term. But let's not. And the hope was that we don't put the community in a position where they suffer because we have a lot of details that we want to address, when we could just do this at least for 1 year.
I don't have a problem with that, and our signs are still up there. So
Yeah.
it's, we haven't really changed anything. We haven't left the area. But just going for a long-term lease, then I think it requires more of a discussion, but I'm fine continuing for this year.
Yeah, well, every lease, as you know, would have an appropriations clause, so, but yes. Any other questions, comments?
Yes. I know somebody that can get the job done, and he'll do it every time. Nick will do it.
Well, I appreciate the confidence, Commissioner. Again, I think if we can get that release of liability completed, to the very least, that we can get that dock installed, I think that solves the largest issue for our community, is just getting the dock in. The dock's in our yard, we're ready to go, and then we can look at how to manage that with lakes in the future.
And there's not one piece of moss that's going to grow underneath of that stuff.
So we're ready. We are ready to go. And commissioners, I'm pleased to forward that to legal today and get that in the hopper for an opinion and get it back to you as quick as we can.
Yeah, and just to kind of dovetail on that, I said this last weekend, but you do a fantastic job. And one of the things that I think everyone up here can agree is that when you get your marching orders, you figure out the most cost-efficient way to get the job done, and you get it done, and we don't have to worry about it. And you're a real asset to this community and this organization. So thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. I'll get it done.
Anything else? No? All right, on to number 4, Newby-ginnings of North Idaho. And my name is next to this as well. I was asked by a person in the community if I would put a letter together in support of Newby-ginnings. I think everyone up here knows who they are. They serve the veteran community. Teresa Hart, who started it, is a Gold Star mom, and she has built just an absolutely fantastic organization that just serves countless veterans in this community. And she accepts donations, kind of weeds through the good stuff, and then makes it available for veterans for free. And she has outfitted a number of homes for homeless veterans, furniture, toothbrushes, pots, pans, plates, utensils. And so I was happy to put that letter together. And I thought that maybe the board, if you so are inclined, would be interested in putting a letter together from the board for her organization. She's in the process of trying to raise money to build her own building. I think this is her third or fourth location, and she outgrows them almost as soon as she moves in. So anyhow, I wanted to bring it before the board. If you're interested, I'd be happy to put together a draft and have you all edit as you see fit and sign, and we can give it to her.
Sure. My family's been a longtime supporter of this. I already did write a letter of support and sent it in as a loan commissioner. I think the thing that is challenging for me is that I don't want to be picking nonprofits to support and to not support. So for me, I think this is an individual commissioner opportunity to reach out and support it. But as a board, I get very concerned about what requests will come forward. In general, I know that there's been 3 or 4 nonprofits that have reached out to us in the past, and we have declined any support. So that would be my caution. And again, I've already sent it, and I think it's a very worthwhile cause, and if an individual commissioner wants to do that, which I believe you already have.
Yep.
Yeah, so that would be my caution.
No, and that's a reasonable statement. It's just a matter of, I thought it was prudent to bring it before the board, only because she's done made such a big contribution to the veteran community, and we actually have our own Veteran Services Department, so we clearly do a lot of work.
Yeah, and I would actually even encourage our department heads to put a letter of support out as well, if our VSO wanted to do that. So.
Sure. Commissioner Eberline?
I would remind us that we're spending other people's money when we decide to do something neat. It belongs to the public, and we take it out of our own pockets.
Okay. Well, with that said, that item is done. We'll move on to public comment. No? All right. 10:32. Wait a second. Rod, do you want to come up and speak?
I just wanted to give a little more information. I don't know.
You just
You just push the button, and it'll turn green for you.
There we go. I just wanted to also let you know that there was at our meeting that we talked to before, there was issues about not being able to make sure that everybody paid their permit to use the boat launch. We're willing to put signs along the street, and that if you're not using that QR code and getting your permit, then you'll be fined. We still have to have enforcement on that, and that, I assume that has to do with the sheriff's department to enforce it, and maybe you got people that can enforce it, I don't know. But I just wanted to let you know that we're more than willing to do that as well. And as far as the documents that were sent last night, I made sure that those were sent last night so you'd have them this morning. And we're good with it. We want this thing to happen. We don't want the community to suffer at all. So they depend on that boat ramp. That's used a lot. So I just want to make sure that gets done. That's all I have.
Yeah, well, thank you for showing up last week, and thanks for coming out today.
You bet.
Anybody else want to? Yeah, come on up.
2 of them.
Just hit the button so it's green, the little light there.
Good morning. Thanks for giving us a chance to visit about this. One thing that was not mentioned today about the Bayview ramp that should be addressed, not today, but is the question of restrooms. I mean, the county has a restroom building that I think on site is maintained currently, I think, by Mr. Snyder's group. There's been some discussion that that's a problem for him, but I just wanted to maybe have the commissioners direct Mr. Snyder to give us some background information on what can be done as a community or through your offices to keep those restrooms open.
Thank you. And can you just state your name for the record, please?
Gary McDonald, Bayview, Idaho.
Thank you.
And then regarding a little bit about what Rod mentioned about the fee collection, it's pretty loose, and I think it's rare for people to fill out the little, because there's no enforcement, and a lot of money is lost because everybody figures, well, it's the Bayview ramp, you know, we don't have to pay. But then maybe we could mutually work on something to get that money collected. And that is about all I had.
Well, thank you, Gary.
Thank you very much.
All righty. Yes. Thanks for coming out, Norma Jean, and just state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Norma Jean, and I am the president for the Bayview Chamber of Commerce. I wanted to thank Commissioner Matera for coming to the chamber meeting. He didn't stay and enjoy the chili, which was, dang, there were some really good ones. The same thing with Rod Tweed. I'm with Gary McDonald. We are concerned about the restrooms. We have no idea how much it costs to maintain them. We have no figures. We have nothing to go by. I know it has been suggested taking the building down, which is really senseless to me, and putting in porta potties. Porta potties are very expensive on a monthly basis. They can be $230 for a month, I believe. So you times that by 12, you times that by however many years or however many porta potties you have, and it's not a good solution. So I'd like you guys to keep us informed, especially you, Ms. Duncan, since you are my representative. I appreciate you guys listening to me. I appreciate the fact that you're trying to get the dock back in, and we need it back in as soon as possible. And I said, that's all I've got, and thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? And if you would, just state your name for the record.
My name's Calvin Nolan. I'm the Vice President of the Lake Pend Oreille English Club and past president and the founder of, and I was one of the vice presidents for several years on Lake Coeur d'Alene Pend Oreille Club, or Coeur d'Alene Club 2. With the docks, you know, of course, for the anglers, it's just a lot of safety things. We do have a fishing derby coming up in about 5 weeks. Yesterday was brought up, possibly if we could get a temporary dock put onto the small dock that's there for the launching in the 5 weeks, you know, just for safety purposes and be able to get anglers into the water. Again, of course, the bathrooms too, because the anglers use that stuff too, but, you know, I'm just kind of hoping maybe we could do something temporarily just to get the fishing anglers out there, because like I say, about 5 weeks, we have the first one, and then there's 3 weeks later is another one, and then it just kind of keeps going from there. But thank you for listening to us and allowing us to do our thing.
Thanks for coming down.
Right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else? Anyone online? On the phone? Nope. Okay, 10:38, meeting adjourned. Thank you.